Welcome to episode 97 of Real Estate, Real Life, Real Talk, and Real Live with your host, myself, Damon the Agent. And I want to thank you all for joining me today. Today is Friday, March the 29th, 2024. So, without further ado, let me get right into it. My real estate topic of today is cash offers versus loan offers. Now, you all always know I like to start with real estate before I go into anything else. So today, my topic is cash offers versus loan offers. I really want to talk about this briefly because you all know I'll do my show now 15 to 20 minutes at the longest. I really want to talk about this briefly because there's a misconception with so many people who feel as though that when they make a offer with a loan, whether it's a FHA loan, conventional loan, or whatever loan, that they get the same value like they would as if they were making an offer with a cash offer. Now, I say that to say that with HGTV, Redfin, Zillow, there are so many people who now today who feel as though that they're expert when it becomes to negotiation and when it becomes to making offers. But truth be told, they're not. The experts are the ones who hold the license. And I say that to say that I've spoken with some potential buyers in reference to making offers, and some buyers would tend to want to make an offer based off what they've seen on TV. They think that basically that they can just come right in, make lowball offers without understanding there's certain guidelines to follow when you have a loan versus when you're making offers with cash. Now, a lot of investors use cash and hard money loans to make offers. And with that, they are basically buying a property for lower than list price, in which they are accepting the price that they offer, and there is no contingencies with it. That means there is no appraisal contingencies, there's no home inspection contingencies, and what they're doing is they're basically making an offer, they're waiting for title to clear, then they go to settlement. When you have a loan product such as the FHA or conventional loan, you have to understand that in most cases there's a certain contingency that comes with those loans. There's the appraisal contingencies, for example. No matter what you offer on the property, the house has to equivalent based off the appraisal the same amount that you've made the offer on, or I'm saying there's going to have to be some negotiation between the buyer and the seller. And because of that, sellers know that. So a lot of times, if they just put their house on the market, they're not willing to take a lower than list price when their house has just come on the market because of that one contingency. And there's also the home inspection contingency. Now, the home inspection brings other things that the appraisal do not bring up. But because of these contingencies in which the seller is the one taking the risk, they're less likely to accept an offer from a loan product the way that they would from a cash offer. And the reason being is, let's say they put their house on the market for $500,000, and an investor say, okay, I'll give you $425,000 for it. I'm just using that for an example. Some sellers will say, they don't have to risk the appraisal, they don't have to risk the home inspection. So some of them, will take it. Very few will actually take that offer, though, because first of all, when their house have just come on the market, many sellers, they believe they're going to get another offer because of the traffic, because of the flow. So, but in a lot of cases, when it's a cash offer, the offers is most likely, depending on the price range, will be accepted from a seller because there's no contingency. Now, let's say hypothetically you use a loan product to make an offer when a house has just come on the market. I'm gonna use that same example. Let's say if it's 500,000, you offer 425. Again, sellers are gonna take that as a sign of disrespect, and sometimes they're not even gonna respond to the agent who have submitted that offer, not because they have to, but just because the fact that they felt like it was disrespectful. But in many cases, some buyers feel like they want to offer this lower amount, regardless of how long the house has been on the market. What you have to understand is, as real estate professionals, broker professionals, people who are in the real estate industry, they do their research and they know the market better than many people do. For example, you have to know the days on market. You have to know the condition of the homes. You have to know the comparable comps around the property in order to know what will make a good offer. You cannot assume that, okay, if the house is listed for 500,000, I just want to offer them 485 and let them counter, because I've heard that before. I want to offer this and let them counter. But here's the thing. Sellers don't have to counter. So when you thinking that they're going to counter and they don't counter, just understand you didn't put your best foot forward. Meaning you should always make your best offer initially, because you don't know what other offers are lingering with that seller. Just because you're interested in that property doesn't necessarily mean that you're the only one that's interested in that property. So when people have this misconception that it's listed at 500,000, I want to offer 485, let them counter, and you never hear from them, you're wondering why. And that because that was a poor approach to that. You don't do that. Now, if the house has been sitting on the market for a while, that's a different approach. But again, like I mentioned, the days on market plays a huge factor in that. So please understand that cash offers and loan offers are not the same value. They don't equivalent to the same. And I'm explaining because they hold different importance with them. They hold different value with them when making those offers. And it depends on the buyer, it depends on the seller, and there are other variable factors with the home that's going to determine whether or not the offer is going to be accepted. But you have to know how you're presenting that offer, and then who's receiving that offer, and a lot of other things that I just mentioned. Days on market condition, the comparables in the area, all of those things are going to be key determining factors when it pertains to whether or not your offer gets accepted or not. So I'll be back with my Q&A. Now, Q&A, for those who don't know, means questions and answer. But again, like I said, try to keep my show brief now. So I'm going to get straight into it. The first question is, what is a modular home? What is a modular home? Someone asked me that, and that is a very good question. A modular home, in many cases, is a factory built home, meaning, like, for example, it's factory built, and a lot of times they have different compartments in it, and they build it somewhere else and they bring it. Just like if you've seen at Home Depot, Lowe's, and you go in the back and all those little small homes that people are buying and putting in their backyard, or they're putting somewhere, those are what you call modular homes, because they've been factory built already, and then you just picking them up and placing them somewhere. You know, those are modular homes. The next question, is it cheaper to build a house? Is it cheaper to build a house? I answered that question before, but I'm going to answer it briefly for those who didn't get it the first time. When you're building a house, you have to have certain things in place, okay? If you have the funds to pay for everything individually, like you have the money to pay for an architect, to pay for the plumber, to pay for the electrician, the roofing, the contractors, and all of the people who are going to get the builder inspector is going to do all that. But there are funds that you have to pay for up front when you're building your home. So if you have $300,000, $500,000 and you want to build it, it can possibly be cheaper if you have the right people in place. But if you don't, and anyone who's ever done any renovations or flips know that your contractors can cost you a lot of money if you do not have the right contractors in place. So it can also cost you more building a house. So is it cheaper? It can possibly be cheaper, but it's not always necessarily cheaper. So, and you also have to have the money up front. Just like when you buy a home, you're actually borrowing money from a bank or mortgage company to give you a loan because they've already built the house for you. So you're just paying with your monthly payments to the bank to who have financed that home for you. When you're building a home, you're going to have to pay for everything up front, and you're going to have to pay for the materials that are used when it pertains to building that home. So if you have the cash to do that and you have all the right people in place, building a home can possibly be cheaper, but in some cases, it may not be cheaper. Please keep that in mind. Another question. This is the last question right now. The last question is, let me see. The last question is, hold on for 1 second. Okay, the last question is, as a buyer, how will the NAR lawsuit affect me? As a buyer, how will the NAR lawsuit affect me? Now, for those who don't know, there's been a lawsuit with real estate agents and real estate companies that have come out. NAR's National Association of Realtor has settled a lawsuit recently, and someone's asking, as a buyer, how will the NAR lawsuit affect me? Well, if it is signed off finally, which will be in the middle of July, it will affect many buyers. Like, for example, in many cases, the seller pays the commission for both the buyer and the I mean, both for both the buyer's agent and the seller's agent in most transactions. Now, in the future, the buyer is going to have to pay the real estate agent their own commission, meaning, you hire that agent, there's going to have to be compensation that in some cases were not given, because some buyers did not have buyer agency agreements in place to outline that. But in the future, you will be signing a buyer agency agreement, and in the future, buyers will be paying the commission, which is 3%. So on top of your paying and stuff, that 3% is going to be added into that. Now, as a agent like myself, there's ways that I can, figure and navigate that for a potential buyer. But at the same time, though, like I said, that's how it's going to affect buyers. It does affect buyers, but now you're going to have to pay the agents for commission rather than the sellers paying for the commission. So that's how it's going to find. But there's more details that will come out, and you will see it all over and everywhere. So that's how it will affect buyers. You're going to have to pay your real estate agent's commission instead of the sellers paying the real estate agent's commission. Okay, y'all, I'll be back with my topic of the day. Now, my topic of today is accountability. I just want to briefly talk about this topic because I actually heard someone talking about it today, and it made me contemplate on a lot of things, that I was thinking about. In our life, so many people like to blame others for whatever goes wrong in people's life. We don't take the time to do self-evaluations. We don't take the time to look within ourselves to see how we played a role in things. It's just like when a relationship goes bad, everyone can blame the other person, but they never take the time to look at themselves. When people have kids and the kids do bad, they don't take, it's not their fault. You took after that side. You didn't take after me. But when they do good, they want to take all the credit. That's natural instincts and everything. But when it pertains to accountability, a lot of times where we at in our life is the result of a lot of thoughts and actions that we have done in the past. We can't blame nobody for our successes. We can't blame nobody for our failures but us. We are the sole person and proprietor in our life from the day that we get up. When we look in the mirror, we see us, no one else. When you are feeling pain, if you cut your finger, you feeling the pain. But what I want to say is I think that people need to focus more on being accountable for their actions and stop blaming others. It's too many grown people who, honestly, you may be of age, but mature wise, you're still very young, that you don't take any accountability for the role that you play. Like, for example, everybody thinks they're a good person. Everybody thinks they look good. Everybody thinks they're a great person in a relationship. But truth be told, you're not. Because if we were to ask someone else, no matter how good you think you look, you don't look good to somebody. No matter how bad you may think you don't look bad to everyone. And at the same time, no matter how great of a spouse you think you are, I'm pretty sure there's someone from your past that would disagree with that. And I just say that to say that until we start taking accountability for our actions, nothing would never change in your life. Your results are going to always be the same. They say that insanity is repeating the same thing over again, but expecting a different result. Truth be told, we live in a insane society today because there's so much that goes on in the world, but there's so many people out there who have a disconnect with themselves. They have a disconnect with so many other people and stuff because there's a lack of accountability with people. Nobody sees nothing wrong with themselves these days for some reason. But the truth be told, there's something wrong with all of us. We all have problems. We all feel pain. We all go through it. We all have good days. We all have bad days. But the lack of accountability shows up when you don't take ownership for the results of your life. When you don't show up to say, oh, what could I have done different? Even if you're doing something on your job and you didn't do something at your peak performance and someone else got a promotion or a raise, you're looking at them trying to figure out how they got it instead of looking at you to see what you didn't do to get it. You understand? It's about accountability. It's like when you're in sports, and if you don't win a championship, Some people don't look at themselves, or they'll blame and say, oh, you didn't give me the ball, you didn't do this and that. But what could you have done to make things better on your team? And the same thing when it pertains to relationship. You know, when relationships fail, people always say, oh, he was a narcissist, or she was a gold digger, or when they have kids, they always say, oh, your father did this. You get your attitude from your father. Or with the mother, yeah, you just like your mother. But when are people going to take accountability for the roles you play? Because sometimes some of those behaviors that you're putting on the other person is also what's inside of you. So, like I said, until you take accountability for your actions and your role, your life is the same. So, whatever you live in, whether you on a boat, yacht, whether you're on a plane, whether you're traveling, or whether you're not, whether you're on a bus, whether you're driving, all that is a direct reflect of things that you've thought and done in the past. But if you're not where you want to be in life, then maybe you should look in the mirror and take a good look at yourself to see what it is that you can actually change about you. Because what you're doing today is setting yourself up for the future. So we're in 2024. Where you going to be at in 2030? You know, unfortunately, some people are not going to be here, but there's going to be many people who are here. What type of lifestyle would you be living then? You know, what's your 6-month plan, your 1-year plan, your 2-year plan, your 5-year plan, and your 10-year plan? Because if you're living the same way today that you were living 5 years ago, guess what? You're the only one responsible for that. So that's my take on accountability, y'all. Give me 1 second so I can come back and do a recap. All right, y'all. My recap of the day is cash offers versus loan offers. They are not the same. When people look at making offers and everything, please don't go out there making lowball offers because what you saw on HGTV, because it's not going to fly the same. And if you don't hear back from the other agent, just understand it's not the agent, it was your offer. And you have to study and learn and understand a lot what goes on in the real estate market to understand of getting your offer accepted. A lot of times I ask questions. How badly do you want the house? That would determine your offer. If you don't want it that bad, then I understand why you're giving a bad offer. But if you want it bad, put your best foot forward. And then I just briefly talked about accountability. Look here, y'all. We all need to be held accountable for everything that we do in our life. If we want to achieve high goals, if we want to go to the next level, you know, it all starts within us. Now look yourself in the mirror and see what you need to be held accountable for and go do it. Also, y'all, please follow me on all social media platforms. It is /Damon the Agent. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, and did I say all of them? I think I said all of them, but I'm actually on all of them, so you can find me. And also next Saturday, which is April 6th, don't forget I'm having a free home buyer seminar. If you'll go to any of my social media, click the link in the bio. You can register. It is free. I'm going to be there talking. I'm going to have a credit person talking, a lender, home inspector. I'm going to make sure that I get your pizza and something to drink and wings. And you're going to come out there and most importantly get some knowledge on these things. So I thank you all for joining me. Please follow me on all social media platforms. And I will see you all next week. Thank you all. Have a great weekend.